Okay. So I was talking about alcohol and its kind of impact on gender-based violence. As I explained earlier, even this gender-based violence, it is directed towards mostly the so-called weaker sex. And again, alcohol makes things even worse. When it, you have the power of gender, and then again you have the power of alcohol to kind of direct violence against women. So it makes things worse for women. And the fact is that person who beats his wife after using alcohol knows that he will not be held accountable the next day. So that is a kind of a loose point in this. So which we need to kind of find ways to intervene when you have the interventions with women and of course maybe with men. I would like to little bit touch upon the impacts on women's health, the physical health concerns, the mental health concerns, and the sexual health concerns. Of course, I don't need to tell you the physical kind of impact where this violence leads to kind of injuries, physical injuries. I will show you some examples later of some of the gender-based violence or domestic violence instances where the physical injuries are kind of life-threatening. And of course, again, this mental and sexual health concern, they are not coming out as we expect it to be, because women always kind of keep it to themselves. They tolerate alone, and if they kind of come and reveal it, then the punishments are even worse for them. So the stress, depression, not wanting to engage in any productive work, the fear of the actions of the person who is under the influence, and the responses. You are afraid to make any response, fearing what kind be the next response from the other person. So it's kind of trapped situation for women. And of course, this sexual health concern where this forced sex and all those things leads to sexual diseases. And I need to mention here the HIV/AIDS situation is not that bad in Sri Lanka. It is some 3,000-4,000 to the whole population. But the other sexual diseases are very common. But women do not go to hospitals and reveal these kind of sicknesses for the kind of fear and shame, and again that they don't want to kind of to let the world know that the husband is like this. Do not want to put the husband down. So there are so many reasons actually why they are not going. And of course, these unwanted pregnancies. This is mostly due to the unwillingness to use the contraceptives. Especially when they are drunk, they will not kind of want to use it because there are kind of related myths that it will reduce your pleasure, and that why should I wear that kind of the sexual decision maker is the man. So it is kind of leading to many other this kind of issues. So the percentage which uses pills is just 6%, and those who do not use any kind of contraceptive is 30%, and there is another 20% who kind of go for traditional ones, not wanting to go and kind of buy things and not be open to those things. So it's a kind of a health issue that again affecting women. And most women, they will just complain about abdominal pains Of course, when you do the counseling and when you kind of win the trust of the woman and talk very friendly, only she will come out and tell that it is related to forced sex. And of course, internal bleedings related to forced sex. This is within marriage, and women themselves they are not kind of thinking that it is not normal. It is kind of accepted as normal within the marriage, and even excused when it is done under the influence of alcohol. So those things are kind of made even worse with alcohol. And women in our society, maybe it's the same as some other societies, but women are not attending to their health as a priority. It's the last priority they will have, because they have other things to attend to. Even if they have a little money, they will health becomes their secondary need, because they have the responsibility of children's education, children's daily bread. So those are the major priorities. So and again, not being able to leave children and go to medical treatment is one other thing. So health is not a major concern that women will not give priority until it is making things worse and that becoming life-threatening. And of course, I told you about the fear and shame related to these things. Even within the medical systems, the attitudes are such that you can't, go and talk to the health personnel these issues. They will kind of put the blame on the woman. That, you are coming and complaining all this, it's your fault. That kind of, the blaming is also going on. So women do not want to get into that. It's better not to go and take the treatment. So I would just like to present a case study from the southern part of the country, the down area, Hambantota, southern area. I will, since it is a lot of information, I will read it to you. This is the story of Kamala. She is a mother of 2 girls, 17 and 19 years of age, 2 boys of 14 and 10 years of age. Husband was a coconut plucker and comes home drunk every day. Breaks things in the house, shouts filth to me, to the children, to my extended family and to the neighbors. He assaults me and sometimes my children physically and throws me out of the house even in the middle of the night, and I have spent the night in the jungle with the children. We and sometimes the neighbors have complained even to the police. The children are unable to do their studies and the elder too also refuse to go to school. He doesn't bring home any money and doesn't spend on children's needs, and I do some food preparation for daily bread. I attempted suicide twice. So this is another matter related to alcohol use in the family. The recent study, All Island study done by Plan Sri Lanka on the alcohol consumption in Sri Lanka, which took samples from 22 districts. It revealed that 99% of women had the suicidal kind of thoughts, whose husbands were taking alcohol and kind of assaulting them. 9% they had the suicidal thoughts, and among that 3.7% has attempted, and some 1% has succeeded. So that is another issue related when it comes to women, because they when they see no way out, that the only way is just to finish their life, so that will end the whole thing, because no way out for children, for her, for the family. So it's kind of a trapped situation for women. And this is another case from Monaragala, even it's in the southern area. And I married very young, and we were happy at the beginning. But very soon I experienced his drunkenness and harsh treatments. We have 4 children. He started drinking even more with the economic hardships. So that is a major reason for men to drink. When they have more problem, they drink more. He had to drink to face our problems. He drinks throughout the day. He had mortgaged the house and we lost it. We are now in our mother's place. He does not allow me to go out and find work. My mother only feeds us with money she earns out of labor work. I am unable to send the children to school. The 2 elder girls help in the house and only younger boy and the girl go to school. They also want to stay at home. They are always in fear and do not perform well in school. I hate him as he ruined my life and my children's lives. We do not see a way out. This is her story. And here I would like to emphasize one more point where, you see that now she is depending on her mother. Now, this is the situation of elderly women of these families. Now, when they kind of want to relax in their latter stage of the life, but still they are not able to do it because they have to support their daughters who are, suffering from these problems. They have to look after the grandchildren. They have to find the kind of earning to feed the family. So those are the issues. I mean, we have met women who are even more than 65 years of age who are earning their daily bread. Not for them, but for the sake of the grandchildren, for their education. And especially in the situations where mothers have migrated. One way out for women is to migrate to the Middle East countries, find work, and bring some money to, find some solution to the problem. But the thing is, things are it makes things worse. Children are not looked after, they are neglected, and sometimes there are reported cases where the drunken husband has abused sexually, especially the girl children, especially in the families where mothers have migrated. And the burden has come to the older mother. Look after the children, give the security, and all those, total burden. So that's another issue that we are, finding solutions for. This is a case from central province in Sri Lanka, the plantation sector. It is a different society altogether, where, people are anyway vulnerable within the system which is running, because they are deprived of so many facilities. And they are working in the tea estates. They don't go and find other work, and so they are within the system, running their daily bread. And in those families, situation is even worse for women. And sometimes this less than 1% I was talking about, we find certain amount from the plantation sector where women have also got into drinking, because in those kind of plantation sector, the main reason for drinking has become men has to work, the tiredness, that kind of attitude. So women also kind of get carried away that kind of reasoning out, and they also get into drinking and forget about the problems. And when in the families where mother and the father both consumes alcohol, the children are totally neglected. And even the grandparents are not able to support. So there are so many issues related to child development, education. The negligence is very high within that sector. So it's a different setting. We need to look at it in a different way and find different solutions. We both work in the estate and earn about 10,000 rupees per month. Maybe you can tell that is how much in Swedish krona. Right? Per month. Together they get that money. If they work the whole month, and there are restrictions. If they, kind of for some reason, if they do not work for some days, then their work is cut down and they are not paid for certain days. So those are the kind of system that is running. And this is not even enough for food. Whether we eat or not, he grabs all the money to drink. There are fights every day and the children are always in fear and they do not face their father. They stay with their grandmother. We both do not have the time to look after children or their education. I work till late and he roam around drunk till late. Because, in the estate, the men, they finishes their work around 1:30 in the afternoon and women are working until 5 o'clock. So after coming home also, they have other responsibilities. Even if the man comes home early, you will not find him at home. He has other, roaming around, drinking, so many other things to engage in. And children go to school once in a while, and I don't know what they do, because women do not know how to support the education of the children, and they don't have the time to even look at their school, books or whatever. They are sick all the time and have to borrow money from others, and we are always in debt. So this is another issue leading to poverty, being in debts. So these are some of the cases that had been reported. These I have taken from the newspapers. Every day you can at least see 1-2 cases in the newspapers, and maybe at least 3-4 severe cases per month, if you look very carefully. And this breaking down limbs and all those things are the most severe cases. And this middle picture, it's a kind of throwing acid. It's related to untrust, controlling, not listening, that kind of so that is the punishment given. And all these cases, it is reported that they were done under the influence of alcohol. I would like to discuss the situation of Jaffna, which is the far north of the country, because we have been doing our gender-based violence program in Jaffna, and we have been closely working with the GBV desk at the teaching hospital in Jaffna. I get this information, and most of the out of the cases that is being reported, I'm giving this information. There are so many cases which are not reported, and this is out of the cases which are reported. 90% have taken place under the influence of alcohol. And most women were reporting them as accidents at home, not as violence from the husband. So they were just accidents. I have fallen down, slipped. Those are the reasons that they will give. And after counseling and close interaction only, they will kind of reveal their true case, that what has really happened to them. But still, most of them, they didn't want to charge case against their husbands, as they didn't know that they were they were just saying that he didn't know what he was doing. He was under intoxication. So that was the reason given. They didn't want to charge a case. This is cases reported, number of cases reported from 2009 up to mid-June 2011 to the teaching hospital in Jaffna. Total of 906 cases, domestic violence. These are reported cases which are, being treated. Oops. These are some of the pictures from the cases that came to the teaching hospital in Jaffna. If anybody is talking about empowering women as an intervention, there are things that we need to consider about, we need to address, because women themselves play a role in this, influencing these attitudes, behaviors, and social learning. They are playing their role without their knowledge, actually, without knowing that they are doing it. So any intervention or empowerment kind of effort need to look into the amount of involvement of women in the social learning process, which is leading to alcohol promotion. That if you're from a woman, if a child asks why the father is drinking, what do you think will be the answers given by the woman? He's tired. He's working throughout the day. What else can he do? He has so many problems. So those are enough reasons for a child, you know, that okay, if I have problems, I have something to do, you know, I can get into drinking, just forget about the problems. So these things, I mean, that is not intentionally, you know, women are not doing it intentionally, but that is the kind of the learning that they have got themselves. So that is what they are kind of, you know, doing with their children. So that learning, that kind of education, the awareness creation has to be done with the women, as we are doing it with now, especially with our program with women. And of course, these women reinforcing the permissive environment. That is also unintentionally they are doing, kind of, you know, excusing, giving permission. Like if a drunken man does it, it's different, and if a normal man do it, it's different. So it's kind of allowing this bad behavior, or the so-called misbehavior. So that women need to kind of learn to fight back, not excusing. That is one kind of education program that is going on, how you can kind of challenge that permissive behavior, you know, that pardoning misbehavior, right? And then this again, they are also reinforcing the symbolic attraction related to alcohol drinking. It's a kind of, you know, alcohol drinking culture, we will call it, the glamour and the, you know, the symbolic interaction. Sometimes now there are certain you know, now if a person comes and invites you to a wedding, gives the card, if a person, you know, if the person is kind of very fond of alcohol, he will get that feeling when he get the card, the symbolic attraction with the wedding card. Because in most of the weddings, more than 90% of the weddings, alcohol is served. It's a kind of a culture. But now little bit it is being reduced because of the education that women are getting, but still it is the culture. So when you just get the invitation, you are, you know, okay, it's there, no, like they will find out whether alcohol is served. If somebody says no, we are not serving alcohol, then he will not even go to the wedding, you know. Maybe he will go and not even give some gift, or, you know, come back with a kind of a bad face, because that, you know, the thrill is not provided. So there are kind of, you know, symbolic attraction. There are, so I can give you so many examples, but since time is limited, I'll move forward. So again, in expectancy building, you know, there is a kind of expectancy build with the use of alcohol, that, you know, you are kind of, you know, alcohol is not a pleasant drink. Is it? Is it very pleasant to take alcohol? What is the taste of alcohol? It's normally bitter, isn't it? Okay. It is bitter, right? It's not nice. It can be, you know, added sugar or something to taste well, but it is again not pleasant. The feeling when you kind of, you know, have it, the feeling, the burning feeling, and the, you know, vomitish feeling after you get it into your stomach, and feeling of throwing out, all that is not pleasant. But I mean, but if you ask people who are taking alcohol, it's a pleasurable thing for them. Even the feeling of, or even the, you know, looking at the bottle can give them the feeling. You know, you don't need to put it inside. That is very pleasurable for them. So there are so many things that is linked to make that pleasure kind of image building, expectancy that it gives pleasure. So women, there are other things running by the industry, and, you know, the marketing and all those things are happening, but still women are also playing their role in this, in the expectancy building, because, you know, that since it is not pleasant, when drinking, why do you think that mostly men take some bite. We call it bite in Sri Lanka. I think it's the same everywhere. Something tasty or something the burnt beef or something. I would say burnt beef, not baked or something. So why are they taking additional things, or put water or the Coca-Cola or soda or whatever into the drink? Yes, it's not nice to have it, right? So so women in our society, sometimes women are forced to do, but sometimes women do provide these bites and create, she set up the tables and make arrangements, support the environment. So we need to talk to women on these issues as well, because they are kind of creating the environment. And I talked about the symbolic meanings and the rituals that, especially for children, to build the expectancies of children. These rituals, very nice rituals, like sit together and you say cheers. Those are kind of rituals that are linked to the consumption of alcohol. So those are very glamorizing. And if a child is looking at the father who is kind of in a group looking to enjoy, say cheers, it's a kind of expectancy building for the child. That's the way you should enjoy. That's where the happiness is. So that those are kind of intervention points. Even if you are working with women or children, that we need to look at. So there are so many aspects in examples I can give you. But as I told you, what we are trying to do at the community level towards change is to change this kind of from the existing situation. We are kind of trying to change the environment which supports these things. So we are having the interventions with women to change the environment, because all this positive picture it creates, we need to kind of reverse it and gives a negative picture. So the positive here, the overall positive attractive picture that is created from which is very neutral and unpleasant. So we need to have the interventions where it gives the negative result, not the negative gives the positive result. So there is the intervention points that is needed. I would like to kind of introduce a small tool that we are doing with the children. The total GBV program that we are running is we are calling it the Happy Family Program, since we want the total participation of the family, including that of men. They all feel comfortable with the topic Happy Family. And we use this small tool to influence this environment I was talking about within the family. We have done it with the children. If I just show you the tool, you will not be able to read since it is very small. I have scanned from the original one, and it is in Sinhala and Tamil, not in English. So the language is very friendly in Sinhala for the children. These two aspects directly talking about alcohol. This says not committing physical violence against family members using alcohol as an excuse. And this is not committing mental violence against family members using alcohol as an excuse. We have been purposely putting that as an excuse, just children to learn that it is done like that. So they will, while they were kind of marking the chart, they will learn that it is kind of a excuse given, that it should not be given. So children will, this is all related to the happiness of the family, other things, just valuing each other, listening to each other, the communication part. These two, the children will mark mostly in red, because in most of the households where alcohol is taken, where children are affected, they will mark all this in red And when these things are in red, of course ultimately other things are also coming in red. So that gives a kind of, all the time when father is drunk and coming home, children will not be there to face him because of fear, and they will just withdraw. But what we have told them is, we have empowered them that withdrawing will not develop your relationship with your father. You have to give him a strong message that you are very unhappy of his behavior, and that he is doing this under the influence of alcohol. You are really unhappy. You have to give the message to the father. So we have empowered children, so they will mark this in red. Of course, at the beginning it had not been as beautiful as we thought, because in certain families, the fathers have, teared this and thrown this out of the house. There were incidences, but still children were not giving up. They will ask for another and put it again on the wall and mark it in red. So that gives a strong message, and the fathers will just try to talk to the child and just ask, what do you mean by this, at least. So that kind of try to find somewhere to start the relationship. So these I will not read, as I don't have much time. So these are the experience of children where we have used the tool, and that where they have kind of succeeded in talking to their fathers, explaining their feelings, because we need to start from somewhere. Alcohol, coming to the children, alcohol impedes development of children in different ways. As I told you with regard to children, they are of kind of three categories in the same manner. It can have an impact on the physical development, since the nutritional needs are not met, not meeting at least 3 meals a day. The neglect on the nutrition part of the meal, low calories, and of course have an impact on their health, where they get sickness due to neglect of their basic needs, and neglecting sickness leads to many other health issues. And of course this unhealthy food, unclean food, because women are not very careful. They do not want to bother about it. You are sometimes I'm coming to that. Children are kind of sometimes blamed for being the child of that father. You are just like your father, misbehaving. So I don't want to care for you. So that kind of mentality women are going through. So there are so many interventions needed when it comes to women and children. Of course, children's social development is affected. The social neglect from the community, from the school, from the teachers, the isolation due to neglect by parents, labeling, cornering by community. Even sometimes there had been issues with the child club, but we had our interventions within the children's clubs in the communities, where those children are kind of accepted. And of course, neglect of education and learning opportunities, because children, they also lose their interest. And this is, you will say, this is very nice, the enrollment percentage of children to the schools, because we have the free education system. Mostly children are enrolled to school, so the enrollment rates are very nice to see. But the finishing school, what happens in between, how they perform in school, what grades they are getting, those are matters to look into. You want to note down? As I told, outcomes are not as expected, because due to free education, it's okay. But the hardships they undergo in between, that can have bad effects. And psychological development, it's mostly the fear and trauma related to misbehavior of the father. Fear, and because they kind of they observe or they see the violence that is directed towards the mother. And it's a kind of unsafe environment from outsiders. When your father is a kind of a drunk person, there are tendencies that other people in the area would like to come in and kind of, use the situation, manipulate the situation. And I told you, putting the blame on the children. They are always blamed, just like your father. I hate you. Like, those are the comments that would come from a mother who is under stress. So they will lose hope, feeling of emptiness. We have met children who are just staring without responding because they have lost interest in education and in life. Helplessness, and of course affecting the stages of development, cognitive development of children. And there are few cases where the sexual abuse by user or the father is there. This recent study I was talking about, island-wide survey on alcohol, it revealed that they have come across 10 cases where father has abused the children, and out of that 10, 7 were done under the influence of alcohol. And this only not hinders development but violates CRC, the Child Rights Convention. I mean, all that I have talked earlier, they are somehow linking to some of the child rights, which is in the, I have selected few articles which kind of directly link to the effects of alcohol. I mean, you can find enough in the CRC, where, where parents are not taking the responsibility for upbringing of the child, when the father neglects, and the right to enjoyment of the highest attainable standards of health, the right to access proper information. Because, when children are kind of led to different kind of learning, they don't get the proper information. Because this alcohol industry, until recently, where this new act came into prohibiting this advertising and all that on alcohol, because they were all like Doug was showing the billboards, and those are the wrong information that is given, your family can enjoy those things. So they don't get the right for their right for proper information is violated, and right to a standard of living, right to education. And this Article 33 talks about the substance abuse. It is anyway, it can be applicable to alcohol as well. So this is a similar case, so I can skip that. We need to have interventions on the adults' socialization of children, where they will provide the where they provide the reasons to excuse misbehavior that needs to be addressed, and justification for all reasons, situations to use alcohol, linking it with happiness, sorrow, tiredness, relaxing, courage, giving courage. All this has to be addressed, because it is part and parcel of children's socialization within our culture. The glamorizing of alcohol, providing role models. You can find enough role models. The film heroes and so many. Maybe they do not take alcohol in their real life, but they at least give the message that it's a kind of they provide the role model. The same study indicated that 75% of the users have indicated that a family member in their childhood has taken alcohol. So empowering efforts are needed with children for change, because children are helpless of what they undergo due to adults, or especially fathers' use of alcohol and related misbehavior. Still, their involvement for interventions are very crucial. They need to express their true feelings and thus give a strong message to the society, to the family, to the father. And their total image on alcohol need to be addressed. How they have the image that they have on alcohol within themselves, that has to be addressed. For that, you need to have very close relationship and targeted interventions. There is no one way out. So there has to be different kind of interventions. Both for children and women. Individual and community level empowerment for change, attitude and behavior change interventions are needed, especially for the prevention part. And of course, psychological interventions, counseling, that befriending, that is very much needed. Medical interventions, very much needed. And for the protection part, the legal interventions has to be properly done. To kind of wind up, I will just have a briefing on the general tendencies affecting women. There is a tendency to target different segments of women, aiming at their lifestyles, different kind of image building for women. If you take alcohol, you are from a very elite society. It's so nice to kind of lifestyle to have a glass of beer. That kind of image building. This is continuous efforts taken by the industry. So we have to fight all that. Because we don't want that 1%, less than 1% to even be 1%. We don't want women to go into that. So the strong interventions needs for them to kind of, not go into consume alcohol for any reason. And still this role model thing is running through, even though the advertising is not allowed, they will do it somehow very crucially with the dramas, television dramas, films and all those things. So that needs to be addressed, and people needs to be educated on that. And this that other thing is, the industry is trying to manipulate women's empowerment, creating a link between empowerment and alcohol. Like they did with the cigarette some time back, where the leading women from the women's movement were kind of, they were carried away by the tobacco company, that, if you want to be a leading woman, a feminist, you need to have a cigarette in your hand. So that is kind of, manipulations by the industry. And same thing is still happening, even with the alcohol. I think maybe it's the case here also. You try to show your empowerment level through this kind of, I would call stupid ways. So that needs, because we are in the kind of business of empowering women. So we don't want all these empowered women to go into alcohol. So it's a continuous effort that we are taking. That, empowerment is not that. So it has to be, taught in a different manner. This alcohol policy, the National Authority on Tobacco and Alcohol, which is kind of, passed in the Parliament in 2007, it kind of increased the age group, the age of selling and consuming alcohol to 21, and it prohibited alcohol promotion, advertising. So that had a kind of an impact for at least for a short period. So after 2007, with the introduction of, we call it NATA, a noticeable reduction in consumption was there. But then again, the industry will also not give up their fight. They will have their fight for their own benefit. So what they did was they made it easily available. They were giving it for free. They were giving it on discount, making it easily available. So people will come into that instead of, without, regardless of the NATA prohibitions. So they were playing their role and we were playing our role. So that it's a continuous kind of a fight going on. And of course they always have their reporting, the industry, that we have, our production has gone high, our selling has gone up. Then people will have the understanding that all these legal things, the police things, those are not working. People will just, give up, right? Then with these reportings. And they will report that women have, now there is an increase in women's consumption. Those false reporting are there. So that the efforts will be kind of, they can kind of, what do you call, disturb the efforts. And after war, there is a kind of another tendency that in the northern part, with all those security zones and the checking and all those things, alcohol was not distributed to several parts of the country. But now it is freely done. Now they have found new markets in those areas, and people have enough problems in those areas, so enough reasons to drink. So they have found a good market in those areas. And of course, the consumption in other areas after the war has also increased, because the industry, they have manipulated this free environment. The government is always talking about without war, free environment, good lifestyle. You are now not like earlier, no bombs. So you have enough reasons to enjoy life. So in other parts also, it's made freely available, where the festivals, musical shows, there are enough things, so people can enjoy alcohol. And children are now more exposed to this free culture. So that's another challenge we have. So this is it. I think I managed what I can manage within the time, although I have many other things to talk about. So if you have, I have 7 minutes.
Yeah, or I'll give you 4 minutes, because we should stretch our legs also for 3 minutes at least, before we allow Sven to take the podium. Right. So any questions on child rights here, right? Okay. Please.
Thank you for this excellent presentation. I learned a lot. My question is, as I know, and I have been working with the trade unions in Sri Lanka, I wonder if there are any links and cooperation between your organization and them. And also, when I reflect regarding your presentation, this is on the family, how alcohol affects family.
Yeah.
And for me, representing one of the partners of the labor market, this is a workplace issue also, because all these things we are learning here now, it is the behavior within alcoholic families are bringed into the workplace. And so if you could say some links on that.
Yeah. Our organization, we don't have direct links with the trade unions, but of course we try to kind of have the network linkages with different kind of groups where we can kind of have empowerment sessions. And of course the second one was regarding
Begins of production at the workplace.
Yes.
Bring it to the workplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, it is a kind of a great issue. As I told, it affects women's employment, and it of course affects men's employment, and it is again relating to the economic development of this country as a whole. That the productivity of the people goes down. It has an impact.
And it's both on the trade unions and the employers' structure, because they also have their...
And since we have talked about the trade unions, and within them also this alcohol culture is there, very much.
May I just give a short picture of this, because I visited Sri Lanka in August last, and we went to one of the estates, tea estates. ADIC Sri Lanka has been operating in 74 estates actually with their intervention program. And I met the manager of the estate, and he was very happy about this intervention in various ways. He could tell that earlier so many families were on a debt roll. They were indebted because the men were drinking. Today, after this intervention, not a single family was on a debt roll at the estate. And it was so clear the link between this intervention to make the men stop drinking. And we had a very nice meeting where some of the female health volunteers and the men representing the trade union were sitting in the same room together with some other people, and we were discussing this issue. And Samita mentioned earlier that the excuse for the men, even if they work fairly short days, they said, well, it's the pain in the body we get from working. There's a pain in the body, so we have to take alcohol to release this pain. So I said, well, I've heard this so many times now, and I have to ask the women here, because it seems that you are working longer working days in the estate. And then when you get back home, you still have hours and hours of work to do. How come you don't get any pain in your body? And then I asked the men again, how about this? Well, they tried to start excusing themselves. And it was like a tsunami, like a flood. These women, all of a sudden, they felt, well, here is somebody supporting them. So they more or less crushed these labor union representatives and made them more or less embarrassed, challenging them on this issue simply. This excuse was no good. So, yeah. Okay, now I stole some of those, but this was such a nice experience to see how, by empowering the women, giving them a voice, they can actually change the environment. So we'll have a short break here. Sven will get ready and take us to India, across the Pork Strait to India. Right.